Good morning. My name is Onepeg MG, and this is a long-awaited news update that I haven't been doing for about a week and a half. So, a couple of things before I get into it. First, I just want to apologize for not having been uploading as often. Unfortunately, life has a way of kind of getting in the way sometimes. On the brighter side, there were some birthdays. I turned the ripe old age of 38 a couple of weeks back. So we had some birthday parties and things like that we had to deal with. And now things are finally starting to kind of slow down a little bit so I can get back to doing what I do best, and that is talking to all of you guys about Tarkov-related stuff. So anyway, there was a Tarkov TV Devblog. As you guys know, I've been trying to stream every day. I guess I just wanted to take a minute and go over the major points for the Devblog or the Talking Tarkov podcast, however you wanted to put it. In this case, it was hosted on the Battlestate Games Twitch channel by FairTX, who has been the person slated to, I guess, host these things, at least in the official capacity of what Battlestate is doing. And along with Nikita, there were also the guests of Pestily and 41, who is the voice of USEC 3. So the first major thing that they discussed was the 11.7 hotfix. And they said that this was going to be the last big hotfix before the .12 update. With the migration of the game to Unity 2018, which is something that has been discussed in several podcasts and Reddit posts before, they've said that with this hotfix, they will kind of be passing the threshold of the point of no return. So the next time that we see a patch will be for .12. This is supposed to be bringing along with it some solid fixes for the freezing and stuttering that we've been now experiencing on a much more regular basis, which has been one of the main issues. It's been between this and cheating, right? There was a video that was recently done by Veritas, which if you guys haven't seen it, I would recommend visiting his channel and checking it out. I'll actually put a link in the description for it, where he revisited a study that he had done from earlier in his streaming career to look at this idea of leg meta when the AI aims at us. And it was kind of determined that ultimately it looked as though the center of mass, quote unquote, that the AI was aiming at was more around like hip or groin level as opposed to chest level. And with that data going back to Nikita agreed that it seems as though there was something buggy with this, and they said this hotfix was going to adjust how that aim was made. And there was even some fantastic pencil drawings that were made by Nikita. He did concede that the scavs with the sniper classification were prioritizing people's legs as their primary target, and this was deactivated so that they don't aim at people's legs and would be aiming at people's chests instead. But he did say also that there are different levels of AI difficulty in the game currently. One of the things that he did say in this regard was that there were easy, medium, hard, impossible, and then obviously the snipers, each one of which has different amounts of time it takes for them to be able to aim. But what he had said in previous interviews was that the AI would react according to the player level as they were being approached, and that the AI would adjust their level of difficulty, or had a chance to adjust their level of difficulty based on who was engaging them and that player's level. The idea being, as people progressed in levels, their capability would increase, and then naturally the scavs would have some harder difficulty. This seemed to be expanded upon a little bit more, where he said that as the raid timer progresses, the scavs start off at the beginning easier and then progressively get to be harder and harder. And the way that he actually referred to these scavs as the quote-unquote difficult ones were what he called mask scavs, which makes me believe that the scavs that are wearing things like hockey masks or face shields would be the difficult ones, or the hard or maybe even impossible level of scav. Whereas later on in the matches, later on in the timers, they had a more likely chance of spawning. Now, he did say something along the lines of like a 1 in 5 or 20%, somewhere around there, I want to say. Don't quote me exactly on that, but it sounds like that might have been the case when he was speaking, if I remember right. So that's an interesting tidbit of information. So it appears that the scavs that have face masks are the ones that are the more difficult in AI capability. Now, moving on from there, there was talk of point 12, and there was a question of when it was going to happen, and now there's this meme that's floating around, especially in audio sense of it's not going to be soon, but not soon, but pretty soon, you know? And
so it will be not so soon, but soon. Not soon, but soon, pretty soon.
And it makes me laugh every time I hear it. In fact, it's now a chat command for this MP3 in my Twitch channel, along with some other really great audio memes from this podcast. But at the end of it, it was kind of realized that this is not going to be something that happens in June. There was this thing where it said it's going to be sooner than you think, but not as soon as you hope. And included in point 12 is going to be a Unity 2018 migration, the new location, which is the military base, the hideout, a new system of animations, and new animations for the character models, which hopefully will be less CPU intensive. Voice over IP is supposed to be in point 12, but there was a question of whether or not it was actually going to be ready. There's going to be more quests, hopefully some mainline tasks here, because of all of these secondary tasks that are required for rep and all this other stuff that is just kind of hokey. There's going to be customizable clothing, facial expressions, facial features, hair, and facial hair will be changeable later, not in point 12, even though they've been teasing this for a while. They're talking about Steam audio being scheduled for point 12, but maybe not 100%. And the SCAR is supposed to be scheduled for point 12 as well. Now, in addition to this, there's a new location called the military base, which we have seen teasers of before, and there are a lot of images, and I'll share those as we're kind of going through this. He said that the location is between customs and the shoreline. There's going to be a lot of unique loot on this map. A lot of PMC stuff will be found here because bears and USEX have been fighting here. So we should see a lot more like advanced weaponry, maybe more RSAS-related kitted M4s, kitted AKs, things that would be really set up for military incursion, military use. This map will have a chance to spawn groups of raiders together with regular scavs. So the map will not be full of raiders. It will kind of be a mix. There's going to be stationary grenade AGS-30 launchers, stationary mortars, stationary RPG, SPG-9s that are going to have the ability to penetrate walls, and a stationary 50 cal machine gun that is also going to have the ability to penetrate walls, potentially several layers thick, according to Nikita. Thick. Stationary weapons will have random amounts of ammo, but you can find additional ammo on the map and also bring this ammo out from the raid and stash it, and then bring that ammo back into the raid with you to load into the heavy stationary weaponry. So that could be very, very, very interesting. There will also be a system here for some unique exits. So there's not going to be this system where you're going to have a fixed point in order to exit. What they're going to do instead is test this system of using a flare gun. So at any point in time, there will be kind of like designated areas, perhaps. But it sounds like any point in time outside, you can shoot off this flare gun in order to be able to extract. Now, I don't know if that's something that you'll be able to bring in or that you'll have to find. My assumption is that you would have to locate a flare gun in a specific point or position and then bring that along with you in order to light it off. I can't imagine that there's just going to be some kind of like dispenser of flare guns at the point in time that you go to walk into the military base and then you'll just happen to have one on you. My guess is you'll have to bring one in with you into the military base, maybe even as a required item just to get in there. I don't really know. But it'll be interesting to see how they incorporate the flare gun's possession in your inventory itself in order to be able to make this work. Now, there were additional weapons that were shown, and we'll show the images of that, which is the Ash 12, which is a fully automatic 12x7 or 12.7 by 55, Beretta M9A3, the FNP 90, the revolver rifle MTS 255 Gosha, and additional modifications and equipment that can be seen here. Now, in addition to this, they showed a video that was pretty awesome. they were talking about the point of examining items, right? That's always been the question. Why the hell do we have to examine every little item and put them in this handbook? Well, that ties into this automatic weapon construction system that they're creating. The idea being that you can select a whole bunch of different attachments, whatever it is that you've learned, whatever it is that you've examined, will now be in this workable library so that you kind of can pre-build what you want a weapon to look like, very similar to what EFTDB .1 would allow you to be able to do on their website, except now they're kind of bringing it all in-house. So you'll be able to create your weapon on the fly with all the attachments that you prefer. If you don't have those attachments in your inventory, it will allow you to create a shopping list and then purchase what I assume to be the least expensive option on the market for each one of those different pieces and parts that you don't own yet. And then you can slap your weapon together as a prefabricated build, save it to favorites, and then pull up that same weapon build at any point in time that you like, as long as the items are available and you have the funds. Very, very, very cool, very needed feature. So any additional details that were also discussed of note. Nikita says that he likes to take notes and feedback from streamers because they're the people that are playing the game the most. It is possible to overload servers, and that was a lot of the reason why we were seeing freezes and stutters. I don't know if that's necessarily because people are playing the game more or just because the servers are starting to feel overloaded because of the amount of data that's being shared inside of them. I don't know. He said that the most common causes of freezing right now are scavs spawning and map items loading. He did say that people are being banned via hardware ID and IP bans now, and that cheaters tend to be banned immediately, or in the case of specific cheats, coming in waves. Like, for instance, if there's a certain marketable cheat that a bunch of people tend to own, they will identify that large wave of cheat or cheaters and ban them all at once as to not flag the cheat developer, which does make a bit of sense. During the podcast, Nikita adjusted the chance of the antique book spawning, saying that it's going to now spawn in the heavy difficulty scavs inventory, which was what I had discussed previously. BSG says, Nikita said that BSG is thinking about adjusting the mechanics of leveling skills or being able to level skills outside of a raid. They're adding story quests to the game at a later point. Story-driven quests are scheduled for after point 12, although I would love to see if they could add something even closer toward the beginning of point 12. More information on the hideout and point 12 will come in June on a Russian podcast with a simultaneous English translation. My assumption would be that Sneaky Russian 007, my buddy, is going to be doing that. Vaulting and climbing is still something planned, but it's not going to be for point 12. They plan to add both a rangefinder and a set of binoculars. There was a question about using a riot shield. They said that it was already modeled, but it didn't really necessarily make sense for PMC players to be using, so it possibly will become like a scav boss item. There was a question about riot shields being asked as to whether or not people were ever going to be able to use them, and Nikita's response was that players will probably not have the riot shield being used because they were kind of confused on how they might be able to really implement that well, but we could see a scav boss using it in the future. There was talk of a DLC of Scav Life confirmed when a Scav character will be leveled as a PMC, and it will have overall impact on the features that will be deepened. This sounds like you'll be able to level a Scav over time, and that Scav will have a better chance to be able to spawn in with better gear over time, it appears. The MP43 double barrel shotgun will come after point 12, and it will also have a sawn-off variant. There's a planned PKP LMG. There's going to be a sniper scav boss confirmed that will prioritize body parts to disadvantage his opponent before directly killing them with one shot. So it sounds like they're going to try to limb you first and then hit you in the head. That's interesting. There will be different types of compasses. BSG is playing with the idea that each player has a compass on his hand like a watch, but there is a problem with having already modeled many beautiful watches to customize for the character. Maybe they'll eventually have a small compass on their hand. There's going to be a large compass that will be key activated, it looks like. In discussing the Mosin, there will be some nerfs to the Mosin in the way that the very good, powerful ammo for it will be rare and expensive. But in Russia, you can find a Mosin everywhere. There was a question about when they were going to be doing the next iteration of the video series that Nikita's been producing, and he said that that's going to be coming very soon. Scav hordes on Interchange. So if you guys haven't noticed, on Interchange, especially around like the Oli store, it seems like there are a lot of scavs that just kind of keep repeatedly spawning. Nikita said that this is actually a bug, but they kind of left it alone just to see kind of what would happen with the player base as a uniquity. And the players kind of said that they like keeping it this way. So it seems as though this might be something that Nikita decides to just leave in there, and the scav hordes and having these constant scav waves spawning right away, something that the player base has kind of been enjoying. So he will probably leave this alone, it seems. There was a question of the ability to be able to reload magazines, like hand feed reloads into magazines while you're in a raid and not needing to stare at the menu, but being able to reload while looking around. Nikita said the reason why this is built the way it is currently is because they don't have the magazine reload animations done yet. There's a lot of different magazines in the game and a lot of different reload animations that would have to go along with them in order for it to look right. So for now, it looks like we're going to have to be staring into the menu for a bit of time, but this is going to be something that's going to be coming up in the future. He said that, again, this is something that was also mentioned in the previous podcast, but he said that there's going to be new smoke grenades with different smoke colors, riot grenades, etc., but that's going to be coming after point 12 along with the whole, bang and clear kind of stuff. There is also a chance that the ability to be able to combine med kits together will be something that's introduced in point 12. We all have seen IFAK kits, Salewas, whatever, that have partial uses remaining that seem to be like it's just too little to want to bother bringing into a raid, so we sell it back to the vendor or just destroy it and in favor of a brand new kit. Nikita said that combining them at some point in the future is going to be something that's possible, but there's a chance it could be in point 12. My guess is that anytime that they said that there's a chance for something to be in point 12, it's kind of unlikely. And lastly, there was also a teaser that was created or shown to us, teaser animation. And lastly, there was also this teaser animation that was shown for the surgical kit. Now, I actually sat during the podcast while this was playing when the animation began and counted the number of seconds. And for those of you that have been following my take on all of these things as they've been getting announced, one of the things that I said prior was that it needed to be something that had a long duration animation. If you were going to sew up a wound so that it brought your limb back to be able to be healed again, which is what the surgical kit is for these blacked out sections of your body to be able to repair yourself. If it was going to be that, then it needed to be a long-term or long-form duration animation. It didn't make sense for it to be something, 5 or 6 seconds. It needed to be 25 or 30 seconds. And as this animation was playing, I actually ended up counting the seconds for this, and it looked to be about 25 seconds. And I said, okay, that's good. And it turns out as it was going on, Nikita actually ended up saying something along the lines of it needed to be a longer duration animation and something around 25 to 30 seconds. So I felt kind of vindicated, at least a little bit, in my take on that. I must say that I am pretty hyped up about this. Every time that they have one of these dev blogs and they talk about how they want these patches to go and how they figure it's going to look, I always want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, man, they're trying to improve it. I still worry about the freeze and stutter thing. I don't worry as much nearly as badly as I used to about the cheating stuff because we have video reporting and stuff like that now where we can have clips of the gameplay when we get killed by somebody and submit them to BSG, and we were told that there are going to be people reviewing them. And I know that they're being reviewed because I know 2 of the people that are reviewing them over on Battlestate's side, and I trust those people and what they say. I just hope that they are able to figure out these technical issues and get this thing back to, something closely resembling what it is that we are hoping that we're going to get out of this. That's really all I have for today, guys. I just want to say thank you all for sticking it out with me. The stream has gone from averaging, 8 to 10 to 12 people back in October of last year to now somewhere around 50 or 60. And yesterday with Pestile's raid, I want to say we averaged like 350 people, and that was just absurd. So thank you guys for just being here. Thank you for putting up with my crap. I fucking love you guys, and I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you for this life. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow I'm going to be doing this a whole lot more often again now that life has kind of slowed down. And thanks. Just thanks. Bye.